Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're actually going to do a full orchestral score, but hybrid. So I'm going to use the full orchestral suite for something, and it's going to be hybrid, so we're going to use synthesizer and stuff like that as well. Probably just score about a minute of music and then move on, but I'm going to try to use the entire orchestra. So I'm going to set, I don't know, 90 is generally a pretty good spot for tempo. So yeah, so let's just come up with something. So I'm going to go ahead and set measure 5 here. All of my settings for this project are completely wrong. So measure 5 functionally is going to be measure 1 for this. So measure 5, let's just start with something and go. So I guess I'll just pick a key and write something hopefully interesting. Let's start with cellos. I think I'm going to pick E minor because I haven't written in E minor in a while. Yeah, what if we did like an E minor with a la te do kind of thing? Yeah, and that has a B flat in it, but let's see if we can do something like that. And actually, I think I want my tempo quicker than that, so let's set my tempo to 120 here. Boom, dum dum dum, dum 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 dum. Yeah, let's try something like that. And we're just doing like cello spiccatos. I don't remember what I played, to be honest with you. I'm just gonna hit play and make something happen. Yeah, something like that's gonna be cool. Just as like simple ostinato. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it as that real quick. My piano playing is not perfect here, but not a big deal. So we're gonna go ahead and quantize that. It's a good first little motive, and then I'll just repeat it here, and as an alternate, I'll do something else. Yeah, it's very like almost Pirates of the Caribbean or something with that. Actually, I want that on the upbeat, so it's gonna be. Yep. Not the most inspired thing on the planet. Yeah, that's not terrible. Not the most inspired thing on the planet, but I don't hate it. So let's go ahead and do, again, we're just doing like an E minor thing. So that's almost too common for me to do something like that. So I don't want to get too stuck into that. I actually wonder if I went with piano or something else. Let's just loop this ostinato for a little bit. And then, I don't know, start with like a piccolo maybe? That's something I don't do very often. Remember, for realism, I am playing it. My thumb is on the mod wheel for the dynamics. If I open this up, it's controlling the dynamics. It's not controlling the vibrato speed, but the vibrato is present. Very interesting. I think that's going to work. I think that's going to work. We sort of reset our ostinato at a 6-bar pattern instead of a 4-bar pattern, and so I'm going to actually reset it here. So this is the original pattern. So that's going to, I'm just going to color this slightly differently, so I know exactly what I'm doing there. Cool. And then yeah, we've got this E minor but with a B flat thing going on. So we've got the F sharp and the B flat, not the end of the world. Let's see, maybe just add some flute legatos or something. That was working except for that last note. So I did, oop, I messed up my retrospective recording anyway, so. Made a real mistake there of pretending I had that low C on the flute, and I definitely don't, or the low B flat rather. So let's bring it up. Yeah, so I realized what I'm actually going to do here is I'm actually going to take this whole idea here instead, see if this will still work. So the first one can just be the first iteration. So duplicate that and then really start the phrase here. I'm not sure if that's going to work as well. Doesn't work as well. So really, I'm just going to go back to what it was, which is, so now in a weird way, this is the start is the B flat motive. So theoretically, I could start this over here instead, but I'm just not gonna. Cool. So that's pretty interesting. So far we've got a cello doing spiccatos. We've got some winds on top. I think it would be pretty apt to have like pizzicatos from the violas and maybe the violin twos or something. I don't like getting stuck too much in that E center tonality. So if we're going to do it, I'm going to do it and really emphasize the other tonal centers that we've got going here. So I'm going to go to step input. Step input allows me to essentially input it by step instead of just instead of having to write it in time with all this latency and stuff. I can just right. So this is kind of interesting, except we've got this B flat thing happening. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah, it's kind of interesting on that. So I'm going to duplicate that there. And then actually, let's see. Is that a duplicate of that? It needs to be if it's not. So this is really where our phrase starts now. So we've got these pizzicatos, just copy and paste. That's really nice. That's really fun and bouncy. I think it would be cool if we did some, can I get some like stabby kind of Coleños or Bartok piss? Yeah, let's hit it right here. Yeah, so basically I'm just hitting that on the upbeats the second time. So I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it into my top. Do I have a Bartok Pits here? No, I've got the Coleños. The Coleños might not hit as hard in the violin one. Obviously, I need to bring these notes from the bass up a few octaves to be there. Yeah, it's working really nicely. Okay, then So we've got this pretty basic string motive here. Let's see if we can take this melody idea and bring it back later, but I do want some kind of call and response from, let's go with the other winds. I don't use winds enough, and so let's see if we can make something happen. So we've used the flute, the piccolo and the flute. Let's, I don't know, use oboe and clarinet. Sure, why not? That might be cool. Yeah, so functionally, I'll explain the harmony of what I did there. So we've got basically an E, a C, a B flat. So it reads as A sharp, but it's actually a B flat, G, A, G. So we're in this weird modality land of like G minor-ish, but not really G minor-ish, because it's really E minor with... it's E minor with like a flat 5, if you want to think about that, because we're emphasizing that. So it's slightly spicy at the very least. And so cool, we've got these oboes doing legatos. Let's see if we can get clarinet. That specifically has a solo oboe. And actually, I did this on solo flute earlier. I think, do I have multiple flutes loaded? I'm actually going to straight up just copy and paste these so that I have more flutes. Yep. Doesn't bother me one bit. Take the solo oboe, and the reason this doesn't bother me, by the way, is because one, we can have more than one flute in an ensemble. We technically now have 4, which is not pretty typical, but it's going to be buried in the orchestra anyway, and the playing of them is already pretty realistic. You hear the musical phrasing aspect of that? Yeah, because I played it in. Remember, I'm playing it in with my right hand and using the mod wheel with my left to control the dynamics. I'm not controlling the individual vibrato, but I certainly could if I wanted to. Let's go to clarinets. And yeah, I don't want to just double this. It's going to be kind of tricky to follow this harmonic structure. So for the first half of it, we're emphasizing this almost like C dominant territory, and for the latter half, we're emphasizing almost like an A minor. So maybe I can just emphasize that in a spicy way. Yeah, we're getting kind of interesting. Oh gosh, I didn't actually record that. I don't know if I loved it anyway, but basically what I was doing was a C down, walking down to the A with the flat 7, or with the flat 5, because we're in E something. I don't love it. I think I'll try to just do like a 1 and a 4, so an E and then an A. It didn't read my A for some reason. I definitely played that. Okay, let's try that again. Yeah. So we've got definitely some interesting colors here. Let's get the oboe. Yeah, so we've got something really like not just E minor land. And actually same thing, I'm going to just copy the oboes, so we have multiple oboes. The clarinets, we have 3 clarinets. Why not? By copying this, realistically, by copying these into multiple sections, it's actually going to really like help any of the imperfections and the fakeness in a way, because technically the solo clarinet and the A3 Atre, I think some people would say that. Those are different samples, and so by having different samples stacked on top of each other doing the same thing, they sort of compensate for each other. Same thing here. So now we've got a much larger ensemble and all of the flaws fixing each other. But remember, this mod wheel, I'm playing this the entire time. I'm not really adjusting any other expression right now, and it's still sounding quite realistic, I think. So then I think it'd be interesting if I took these collegno hits that are happening here in the violin, and actually, if I'm trying to use the entire orchestra, why not get the bassoons? We don't need everything in all the time everywhere, but why not get the bassoons and have them doing that same thing, right? Bum, bum, you know, that very like honky kind of sound. And I'm going to do it on the solo and the three of them. Yeah, it's kind of fun. I think on this latter half we can actually maybe commit a little bit more to that. If we repeat this idea, I think maybe we can commit a little bit more to the E and A, like the 1 and 4 kind of idea. So let me think through that. What's our timestamp here? I want to make sure. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna transition into another section in a second, but yeah, let's just build it up right here. So let's transition into the idea more committing to the E and A. So if we're committing to that E and A, I don't mind keeping this here, but on the latter half, I'm going to bring these up to A. Same thing here. Just going to duplicate this, bring this up to A. So now we're like really committing to a 1 and 4 idea. We can probably keep this going, and whether or not we can keep these is going to be determined. We probably could, but I actually like this idea better of C, B flat. That's gonna have to be a B flat, E flat. We'll try that. That's really spicy and kind of interesting. We're in sort of like spy thriller land is what it's starting to sound like. So I just copied my violas and my violin twos. Yeah, and right here, let's just go ahead and have a big hit with our like trombones and stuff. So let's just use the full orchestra while we're at it. So let's have the B bones and the tubas doing those hits. So the bass trombones and the tubas I want on those hits, but much lower. Yeah, now I love this. We're getting into spy thriller land. This is so fun. But I'm going to have the tenor bones and probably the French horn mimicking closer to what these were doing before. So let's have probably just on an E, and then I'll probably have the French horn on the 5th of the chord, which would be a B. So it's going to be, the root is going to be E and A, and then the 5th is going to be B and E. So, yeah. Little passing note there to make it just a little more musical. Yeah, that's working totally fine. I'll just go ahead and copy that into the solos too, if I want. Solo T-bones, yeah, why not? Then I'm going to get the French horns, 4 of them, and let's see if we can get the exact octave of that. So that's where I started the trombones, so let's do. Yeah, and that passing note is actually going above it, and so it's not a passing note. I don't know, some people would call it an appoggiatura or escape tone or something. That's old school music theory, but I don't remember the name of it, but the point is it goes up and then it comes back down, and it would be exactly the G. Alternatively, I could stay on the 5th, but I think it's kind of cool if it goes in unison for 1 second. So I'm going to try that. So again, the chord is an E minor chord going to an A minor chord. And so we are going to do the 5th of that. So it's B to E. we got some harmony happening, people. So here, we can go ahead and let's just keep our bassoon doing the bassoon thing with all of the brass. Actually, we can probably make it slightly more interesting. So that should be going up to A, right? We could probably make it slightly more interesting if we wanted, like taking this onto the third of the chord instead. So if we G and then C, maybe. But I'm gonna try to, let's bring that up an octave, I think. We'll see if this actually works the way I want to. I mean, it is technically working. So I'm actually gonna take this because I want this in probably the oboes now too. Oop, not there. Yeah, I think that's good. Yep, and then we're gonna commit to this musical phrasing, so we're gonna do another 4 bars basically. So I'm just gonna duplicate that. If I'm duplicating this for musical phrasing purposes, just stay on the E, stay on the A. It might be more interesting actually to not do the actual A, but do a C major kind of thing. No, I think I like the A. I'm just thinking about what the next section should be. If I want to do the next section as like a C major, D major, E minor kind of thing, as like a flat 6, flat 7, 1, trying to figure out how to get to the C. And I think what we're doing right now is probably fine. So then let's get our, I don't know, let's get our piccolo back in here. And on top, we could do the third of the chord, but we can also do a little bit more motion. So the third of the chord is on G. Something like that. If you'll notice, I put a B natural in there. I could commit to that, but I actually probably will just do a B flat if I can make that work instead. Actually, I kind of like the B natural there. Cool. I like that melody. I think I can dig that. So then I'm just gonna take the first note of every single one of these and follow that with the flute. So it's gonna be G, E, C of every like 2 bars, right? Or where it changes. So that's, oh, it goes G, F sharp. So let's go G. Yeah, let's let the F sharp be. So G, E, G, A. G, E, G, A. Let's do that with our flutes. Yep, I think I might want that an octave higher. So I'm just gonna copy that, put that there. Yeah, we're getting close. Some of the changes of those notes are not perfectly in time. So let me actually, I'm gonna fix that. No, I don't hate that actually. So I do need for this next section though, I definitely need these to repeat with everything else. If I didn't have those other ones repeating, they need to. Yep. And I definitely need my trombones big, bold, bombastic, and aggressive. So it's gonna be A. I'm gonna try to invert this to like an A over C. I don't necessarily think it's gonna work, but we'll see. Nah, not working. So yeah, so instead of going E, G, A, we're going E. Let's do the B natural this time because we have that B natural in the wind. So it's going to be E, B natural, A. I think that should work just fine. Yeah, and that was kind of tricky, actually, because I had to start it in the middle of the phrase. So you'll see here my modulation and this modulation kind of conflict a little bit. So I'm just going to do it right here, glue them together, and it's not the end of the world because what's going to happen there is it's going to restart. So if I look at this whole thing right here, yeah, it kind of just restarts right there, right before it actually comes in. So not the end of the world. And then for the French horns, we could do it on the 5th again, but let's make it a little bit more triumphant. So let's, if we're on E2 currently, why is that not? Okay. So if it's on E2 currently, I want this going up. I want this ascending so we can transition into a new section. So I need to think about what chord I need to be on, which is probably E. So I could do the 5th or I could walk up to the 3rd. So and then I'd be hitting the root. So let's see if we can make that happen. That was okay. So if you'll see, I had to add a little bit of a passing tone in there. I didn't have to, but I wanted to add a little bit of passing tone in there. So my MIDI data for the expression is causing issues. So what I would do here is actually, I would probably just draw it in, do a little bit of that and a little bit of that, and then smooth it all out so it looks natural. Yep, something like that. I would probably bring the velocity up on these so we're really building. That one can be a little bit less. Let me duplicate that for the solos. And then where is my trumpet, which hasn't been used yet at all? Trumpet is always beneath horns, and I have to remember that. So trumpets can maybe I want my next chord to be like a B flat or something. No, I think I want it still to be an E, but I want to establish a real chord progression on the next one. So it's like an E flat or E minor, B flat major, C major, D major, E minor. I think that'd be a really cool, interesting chord progression. We'll have to see from there. But let's take the trumpets, and I need an ascending line that really tells us we're transitioning. So from A, you know what? I can hint at it. I can hint at it as soon as we hit this A chord. I'll show you what I'm thinking. My E is not there. Yeah, so flat 6, flat 7, 1. And so that means on bar 23 here, which is going to be, that's going to be the start of our new section. We are going to do something totally different. And in terms of time code, because I only want to write a minute of music, we're at 35 seconds. pretty much spot on. And at this point, we've used the entire orchestra with just staccatissимos, spiccatos, everything. We haven't used any percussion yet. Guarantee you, this is exactly where percussion should come in though. So let's do a little swell thing into this. So let's see if we can get, definitely do like a timpani hit, but maybe we can get, yeah. I don't love timpani rolls, to be honest with you. I'm really tempted to not use them. Let's just try it. Let's try it. I'm willing to try it. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. If I played it right, maybe I'd be willing to make that sacrifice. And some big timpani hit right on the E. Yeah, that kind of worked. That was okay. I don't know. It sounds pretty fake to me, I'm not gonna lie. It's one of those kind of things that I'd probably bury, and it is gonna get buried. But what we can do is add something else right on that. Maybe add a tubular bell hit right on that last hit here. So yeah. So we're using the whole orchestra, and some of you are probably thinking, when are we getting to the hybrid? I'll do the hybrid stuff after. So I'll do the whole orchestra and then add some hybrid stuff. But for now, I think what I want to do is, obviously we should add some kind of bass drum there. I'm actually going to go with, I will do a traditional bass drum just for the sake of it, to say we did it. But I'm also going to do some cinematic percussion because that always just works out better. Right, so I played it, it wasn't quite in time, quantize, bada bing, bada boom. Now we have a full orchestra doing a whole lot of stuff here. So we could even go as far as, I wouldn't want to probably do the chords exactly like that, but it wouldn't be the end of the world to have the men on that very last chord or something following the trumpet. Maybe. Nope. Don't like it. The only thing I would maybe consider then. Too cheesy. Choir you have to be so careful with, because it's just gonna go into cheese land if you don't do if you're not careful with it, right?